Hi, this is Gitta with Gitta Sells and Associates, and thank you for watching. I'm here with Jon Dawson. He is a certified residential real estate appraiser, and I'm going to ask him a few questions. Okay, Jon, as an appraiser, do you need a real estate license?
No, it's not necessary to have a real estate license, but you do need to have your state certification or be a trainee appraiser working underneath a state certified appraiser.
Oh, okay, so you have to have some experience.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes, of course.
Okay, now how does somebody become an appraiser?
Well, you first start off as a trainee appraiser, and to do that, you'll take, I believe it's a little bit over 100 hours of coursework that's related to appraisals, obviously, and you'll have to submit an application to the state. Then you'll want to find a state certified appraiser to work under, and at that point you'll do an apprenticeship for at least 2 years.
Wow.
So within that 2 years, you're maintaining a work log, experience log of at least 2,500 hours. Then from there you'll submit that to the state, and then you can become state certified.
So apprenticeship you have to do.
Right.
That's what we have to do in Germany.
Okay, right, yep, it's just
you know,
like that here.
when we get a job, you know, we have to go through, and I think that's a good thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you go to school and you get the experience at the same time.
Right, because we're dealing with mortgages and lending and money, and so they want to make sure that we keep the public trust and they know that they have a qualified professional doing these appraisals.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, what is the difference between a conventional FHA or VA appraisal?
Well, FHA and VA, they have additional lending or additional requirements for appraisals. They're mainly concerned with life, safety, and livability issues. So when we go out to a property and the pool is empty, that's a safety issue, a life threatening issue. Someone could walk in and get hurt. They want to make sure that the property is secured, that there's no broken windows, electrical wiring hanging anywhere, things like that. So because they're offering favorable financing terms for the borrower or the buyer, they want to make sure that since they're backing the loan, they want to make sure that it's free of any of those things.
Yeah, exactly. Is there a difference when you evaluate a property which has a conventional financing with 20% down versus an FHA financing with only 3.5% down?
Right. Well, we're not valuing the contract, right? We're valuing, we're valuing the market and the property that we're appraising. Sometimes there can be value differences among properties that have different types of financing. Most of the times the adjustments or the considerations that we're making in the report have more to do with seller paid closing costs and assistance towards the buyer.
Oh, okay. So that's what you base it on. Okay. I know in the past, before 2007 and 2008, you were directly working for banks.
Right.
Is it now different?
Well, even back then, we were working for third-party mortgage companies who would then sell the loans to the lender. And that still goes on today, except the third-party mortgage companies can't order the appraisals directly through us.
Okay.
They have to have a third-party, unbiased management company who handles the appraisals. So, and then they can sell that loan to the lender. But we also have the lender. The lender can also order directly through us because they're the one financing. So.
Oh, okay. So do you get orders from appraisal management companies on a rotational basis?
That's typically how they do it. I primarily work for direct lenders, realtors, and attorneys, excuse me again, for litigation work. But I also have some management companies that send me orders as well. And I believe that they rank their appraisers and then they put them through sort of a rotation. Like you
System.
said.
Yeah. Okay. So it is my understanding when you get an order for an appraisal, you also get a copy of the real estate contract.
That's right.
Why is that?
Well, that is market evidence of what the
Okay.
property might be worth. I
Right.
wouldn't say probably, because sometimes that's not the case.
Yeah.
But when you have a buyer and a seller agreeing on one price for the property that you're appraising, that's sort of important.
Right.
And it's also required, in any federally related transaction is required that the appraiser obtain the contract and review it.
Oh, okay. So that's part of it.
Right.
Okay. Now, when you do an appraisal, do you have to stay within a certain area, certain subdivision? And what happens if you can't find comps there?
Well, there's guidelines. Fannie Mae guidelines is you want to stay within 1 mile. But that's not always possible. So sometimes we have to exceed those guidelines and go into other market areas.
Okay. Now, how about when you have a white elephant in the neighborhood? You know, a property which is totally overbuilt compared to the surrounding properties. How do you come up with the correct value for that?
Well, in that case, it sounds like it would be, that property may have external obsolescence, which means that there's a property value range in the neighborhood. And the smaller homes have already established that range.
Right.
So when you build this bigger house, this house that's a little bit out of the market norm, the people looking in that neighborhood may not be able to afford that house, right? Typically that house is probably in maybe a better neighborhood that has higher, producing higher market values. So we'll look in those neighborhoods and compare that house directly to that neighborhood.
Oh,
But
okay.
then there may be adjustments or considerations we need to make for its location. So.
Well, have you seen values increasing across the area you're appraising right now?
Well, as you know, there is a shortage of affordable housing in the market.
Oh, absolutely.
That's typically with the market predominant value range, which is probably around the $250,000 range. With those, typically currently things are looking like they're more stable. Some areas they are increasing. But once you get into the higher value range, you're starting to see more inventory on the market, and they're sitting on the market longer. And in some cases, I am seeing a decline in the market.
Oh, okay. So what are your biggest appraisal challenges right now?
Right now is probably unique properties, higher end homes that don't have a lot of sales that are currently happening.
Comparing to...
Correct. Correct. And
Okay.
so when we don't have a lot of sales to look at, it makes our job harder to come up with the value.
Yeah.
So I would say that would be the biggest challenge.
Biggest challenge. Okay. Now, does the condition of the property also, is that part of the appraisal? The condition of the property, the improvements, I think you take that all in consideration, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
You look at the property like a typical buyer would. So they're looking at condition, they're looking at the size of the house, the improvements, the amenities, so all those things we'd be looking at.
Right. Now, if a value doesn't come in at the contract price, how can a seller or a buyer dispute the value?
Well, you don't want to go directly to the appraiser. You'll have to submit a value dispute to the bank.
Oh,
and they have to communicate directly with us.
Oh, okay.
So you would have to explain why the appraisal is incorrect or misleading, and provide additional comparable sales that are better than the ones that are in the report.
Oh, okay. Well, John, I think you answered all my questions. I thank you very much for your time. I hope everyone found this information useful, and we'll see you next Friday.